Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3911BN. Today's date is May 22nd, 2026, and the title of the episode is Trump Admin Releases the Counterinsurgency Strategy. Trump is the Bounty Hunter. Now, you know what's interesting? A bombshell study just revealed that GLP-1 drugs don't actually work the same for everyone. Your genes determine whether the injections work at all and whether you'll suffer the side effects. At nearly $1,000 a month, that's a brutal gamble millions of Americans are unknowingly taking. This is why I'm obsessed with GLP-1 Elevate. Instead of a pharmaceutical gamble, it uses clinical studied plant-based ingredients like metabolate to help my body naturally boost its own GLP-1 signals. The ones controlling hunger and fullness. No prescription, no needle, no generic lottery. I get fewer cravings, feel fuller faster, and actually keep my results without the metabolic crash. Get 51% off at trimwithx22.com. Every order includes free VIP coaching for life, a 60-day money-back guarantee, and free express shipping with subscriptions. Head to trimwithx22.com now before the offer expires, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you can see that they're preparing their insurgency, and Trump is preparing the counterinsurgency. And it seems the Trump admin has released the counterinsurgency strategy, the counterterrorism strategy. And yes, that includes the domestic terrorists, Antifa, the Islamists, you name it, in this country. And yes, other terrorists around the world. And I do believe this is all coming out because what is coming at us is the deep state players who are going to fight back to the very, very end. And today we've learned that Tulsi Gabbard is going to resign as of June 30th. Her husband has bone cancer. She wants to be with him. And what's very interesting about all of this is that in many of the major positions, we have people who are temps. And this is the Scaramucci model, which means they don't have to fight for their confirmation. They're there temporarily. They could stay there for 200 and something days, 210 days. Or if Trump goes ahead and nominates someone else, they could stay there a little bit longer, depending on how long the nomination and the confirmation process takes. So it looks like Trump and team, they're preparing to hunt down the deep state players. Now, is this going to happen tomorrow? Absolutely not. Will it happen after the midterms? I do believe so. I do believe Trump is waiting until he gets all the leverage after the midterms to go after the deep state players. Because again, if he doesn't have control of the House and Senate, he's not going to have the leverage that he needs. And I do believe this is why he's been preparing for all of this and making sure that the elections aren't rigged as we go into the midterms. And it looks like we most likely will be getting a ruling from the Supreme Court saying it's not election a couple of days. It's not an election week. It's not election month. It's election day. No ballots can be counted after the day of election. And I do believe that ruling is coming. And eventually what we're going to see is he's going to top all this off with most likely the Save America Act at the last moment and the executive order. Now, even if we don't get the Save America Act, he could say it's a national security threat because of the investigation going on in Georgia and the investigation going on in Arizona. So I do believe he's going to use this to his advantage one way or another. And it seems that the White House put out a message to we the people that Trump is the bounty hunter. Trump is the hunter. He's no longer the hunted, and he'll be going after the deep state players. And you could see the deep state players, they're now panicking because, again, more and more of the Obama administration, which is also the Biden administration, because it's one and the same, more people are now being referred to the DOJ. So what I see happening right now, as more and more people are being referred to the DOJ, more and more people are being subpoenaed, more and more people are being investigated. I think more and more grand juries are being impaneled. I think in the end, we're going to see indictment after indictment after indictment when the time is right. And I do believe most likely this is going to be the storm that is going to hit. Because again, what is the deep state players going to do when all these indictments come out at the same time? They're going to scramble. And you can see James Comey right now, he's trying to get out of his indictment, just like he got out of it the last time. He's doing whatever he possibly can. And again, if we don't have the judges in place that are going to follow the rule of law, all of these people will be able to get out of their indictments. And this is why we need to win the House and Senate, because I think what's going to happen is a lot of these corrupt judges, I think most of them will resign. If they don't resign, they're going to be impeached. And new judges are going to be put into place very, very quickly. And instead of going through the nomination process right now and struggling through the Senate, struggling through all these different people, I think Trump is just holding off on all of this. And he has certain players in the Senate saying, listen, let's wait until we get the people on our side. Then we can confirm all these people all at once. And then we could do our job instead of having these people attacked every step of the way. And I do believe that's what's going to happen as we move forward. Because again, you got to keep the deep state players on their toes. You can't show them what you're planning to do. It's better, the optics, I do believe, are better to seem like, hey, Trump can't get anyone confirmed. The Save America Act can't be passed. And then you do these things at the last minute. It catches them completely off guard. Remember, we're still in a war. They're still going to fight back. They still have tricks up their sleeves. And Trump is fighting them every step of the way. Are we winning? Absolutely. Are we putting the patriots in place? Absolutely. But again, we're still at war with the deep state players. And Trump knows they're planning certain things. And I do believe this is why he's taken these countermeasures and he's waiting for a certain moment. Because remember, timing is everything. Just like it's bad timing for Colbert. And it seems that Colbert now is no longer going to be on TV. And once again, it has come to an end for these people. And most of these people, they don't even have ratings. These people, they don't make any money. They're just being kept in these positions, and the deep state players are just continually paying them to keep the people brainwashed in all of this. But Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said Stephen Colbert's firing from CBS was the beginning of the end for untalented, nasty, highly overpaid, not funny, and very poorly rated late-night television hosts. Others of even less talent to soon follow. May they all rest in peace, President DJT. And I do believe we're going to see a gigantic overhaul of all of these people. And all of these people are no longer going to be brainwashing the people of America. And I think a lot of things are going to change now. But again, like we said, those deep state players, those governors, the mayors, those people in D.C., they're still going to fight back to the very, very end because they're being instructed to fight back to the very, very end. Remember, the criminals are going to support criminals, and the criminals are going to do everything against the United States of America because, again, they're trying to protect their system. And this is why we have Governor Kathy Hochul. She is now putting through a bill that's going to ban cooperation between local law enforcement and ICE. Now, we've seen this in Virginia. We see it in many other states. And once again, is this going to work? Absolutely not. And what's very interesting is that County Executive Stephen McLaughlin said, yeah, we're not doing this. This is what he put out on X. Let me absolutely guarantee this low IQ and dangerous Governor Kathy Hochul that Rensselaer County will once again ignore your stupidity just as we did with Cuomo constantly. While you endanger New Yorkers, I'll protect my residents. We will continue to work with ICE, and we will continue to participate in the 287 program to protect our people. As I said before, I dare you to confront me on this. Let me be even more succinct. F off, you vapid puppet. And I do believe you're going to see a lot of people throughout the state who are in certain positions. They're going to fight back with everything that they have. Because once again, this goes against the United States. This is going against the federal government. Actually, it is a rebellion that you are witnessing right now. And you're going to see this rebellion pick up as time goes on. Because once again, once all the illegals are gone, they lose their votes. Once the illegals are gone, they lose the ability to riot en masse. Once it's all gone, their money system is shut down. Once it's all gone, they're gone. They know this. And this is why Trump has been deporting millions upon millions of illegals. As of right now, more than 3 million illegal immigrants have left the United States during Trump's first year back in office. And according to figures provided by the Department of Homeland Security, the total includes an estimated 2.2 million self-deportations as the administration ramps up enforcement and pressures illegal immigrants to leave voluntarily. There have also been around 900,000 forced deportations, enabled by a large increase in funding for immigration and customs enforcement operations. And we're going to see even more happen. Remember, Trump is pushing these people to self-deport, but the worst of the worst, they're going to have to go after those people. And I do believe Trump, what he's doing, he's leading the deep state players down this path because he knows they're going to riot. He knows they're going to use the illegals. He knows that all these people are going to be rioting in the center of the cities. So why interfere with an enemy while they're in the process of destroying themselves? Let them bring them all out. Let them bring them to the center. Let them do all these things because it's that much easier then to use the National Guard and the military to round all these people up. Yeah, it might look scary. It might seem like things are out of control. But I do believe Trump, he's doing this to make it a lot easier so his team doesn't have to track down all of these people. Will there still be people that they have to track down? Of course, but it won't be the amount that we have today. And this is going to make it a lot easier for Trump and team. And you can see as we move forward, everything is about to change. Just like daylight savings time is about to change. It looks like Trump is pushing to end it because cities, towns, companies, they spend millions upon millions of dollars switching the times back and forth. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said, big vote today, 48-1 in the Energy and Commerce Committee on a bill including the Sunshine Protection Act, which will be making daylight savings time permanent. This is so important, and the hundreds of millions of dollars are spent every year by people, cities, and states being forced to change their clocks. Many of these clocks are located in towers, and the cost of renting or using heavy equipment to do this twice a year is prohibitive. The House bill will be attaching the Sunshine Protection Act to the Highway Bill. Great work by Troy Nehls and all the members who voted as well for railway safety. I'm going to work very hard to see the Sunshine Protection Act signed into law. It's time that people can stop worrying about the clock, not to mention all the work and money that is spent on the ridiculous twice-yearly production. It will also be a very nice win for the Republican Party. Take it. We're going with far more popular alternative, saving daylight, which gives you longer, brighter day. And who can be against that? This is an easy one. Thank you to everyone who supported this important bill, and especially Chairman Brett Guthrie and Vern Buchanan, President DJT. And it's very interesting that he keeps saying, who can be against this? It's an easy win, take it. And if you notice, the rhinos, they can never take it. Nobody can just take the easy win. And it is an easy win. And he keeps saying this, saying, look, this is an easy thing. Look at the people that are against it. Look at the people that fight against it every step of the way. And I think he's proving to everyone that these people are not on the side of we the people. They're on the side of their master. And I think this is becoming very, very clear as time goes on. Just like it's becoming very, very clear that all of these statistics, when they talk about, mass shootings, and shootings are the number one cause of death for children. Well, again, this is all fake and phony. This is what they did to try to get the weapons from the people. So when you really look at this, on average, school shootings result in fewer than 40 deaths per year, and not all the victims are children. There was an uptick during the Biden administration and after COVID, but from 2000 through 2020, the average was closer to 6 deaths per year. And this is why no serious authority has actually made such an egregious claim. Rather, headlines are designed to make people believe that is what they read. The actual claim, according to the CDC data, is the firearm injuries were the leading cause of death among children and teens ages 1 through 19 in 2020 and 2021. There was a tremendous increase in shootings during the COVID lockdowns. At the same time, fewer people were driving to school and work. Consequently, 2020 was the first year guns killed more younger people than cars. The first problem with this data is that it's no longer true. It was true 5 years ago, but it's still cited as if it were current. Second, ages 1 to 19 are an odd population to sample. Children are generally considered to be ages 0 to 17, while 18 and 19-olds are legally adults. Furthermore, firearm deaths include everything from suicide and homicide to accidents and gang violence, and the deaths are heavily skewed toward 18 and 19-year-old. Teens ages 18 and 19 have firearm mortality rate of 25.2 per 100,000. Children ages 1 to 17 have a rate of 3.7 per 100,000, nearly a 7-to-1 ratio. There were 2,526 gun deaths in 2022 among children ages 1 to 17. The CDC's broader 1 to 19 figure for the same year was approximately 4,400. That means 18 and 19-year-olds accounted for roughly 1,900 of the 4,400 deaths, nearly 43% of the entire figure, despite representing only 2 years out of the 19-year age range being sampled. The death rate also varies dramatically by race, according to Johns Hopkins University report. In 2022, in the 1 to 17 age group, black children and teens had a gun death rate 18 times higher than that of white children in the same age group. To put the numbers into perspective, more than 20,000 children die each year in the U.S. from all causes combined, meaning firearm deaths represent only a percentage of total child mortality. When people hear the claim that gun deaths were the leading cause of death, many assume that means guns accounted for more than 50% of deaths. In reality, leading cause simply means the single largest category among many competing causes, including car accidents, poisoning, suffocation, drowning, fire-related injuries, and influenza and pneumonia. Mass shootings are a rounding error among gun deaths in the under 20 age group. Suicide is the dominant driver, and gang-related shootings are second. Gang-related crime data, like demographic crime data broadly, is difficult to obtain because it challenges prevailing political narratives. The FBI's NIBRS system depends on voluntary local reporting, and many high gang jurisdictions underreport or classify gang homicides differently, leaving no unified federal gang homicide count broken down by victim age. The gap is not an accident. And yes, this was all skewed to do what? To do one thing and one thing only. To tug on your heartstrings, to tug on your emotions, to make you say this has to stop. Children are being killed. This is what the deep state players have always done. Just like they did it with COVID. You're going to kill grandma. You don't want to kill grandma, do you? They use this type of language to convince you that something's happening when it really isn't. And they skew the statistics to make you believe this. And once again, you could see that everything that they're saying is completely and utterly falling apart. I do believe that we need to go back to a time where high schools and middle school teach how to handle a weapon, how to use a weapon, how to store a weapon. People need training. People shouldn't be afraid of the weapon. Remember, it's just a tool, just like any other tool, and people should know how to use it. But think about what the deep state players have done. Over a long period of time, they pushed people away from all of this, and they pushed the scare factor, the fear factor on the people. And this is what we have today, that people think that guns are bad. Actually, what they don't report on is how many lives are saved with guns. Remember, they only show you what guns have done to kill people. They've never shown the statistics on how many lives they have saved over a period of time, because this would go completely and utterly against the entire narrative. It's almost like that individual that was on the highway out in Massachusetts. He was firing onto incoming cars, and all they did was report that a state trooper shot him down. But there was a citizen with a weapon that also assisted in all this, but they didn't want to report that part of it. So once again, you could see that all of this is fake, phony, and false, just like everything else that they do. It's almost like when they say, hey, you know what, anyone that uses cryptocurrency, well, you got to be careful because there's a lot of money laundering going on with that. That's right. The banks, they don't do any type of money laundering. Oh, wait a minute. They've been brought up on charges multiple times. And think about what we just found out about the banking system. Well, an investigation that was carried out by the House of Representatives Select Committee on China has revealed that American banks may have been involved in helping Chinese interests tied to the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese People Liberation Army raise billions of dollars. It is belaboring the obvious that having China raise money on this scale isn't in the best interest of the United States. Just months after the Department of War designated Contemporary Amperex Technology Ltd, the world's largest battery maker, as a Chinese military company, JP Morgan and Bank of America moved forward with underwriting its Hong Kong IPO, helping the company raise billions in new capital. According to the investigations, the bank's proceeding even after CATL was linked to China's military civil fusion strategy, and despite evidence connecting the company to entities tied to the PLA, China's defense industrial base, and forced labor in Xinjiang, the investigation uncovered CATL partnership and business relationships with blacklisted Chinese defense-linked entities, including Huawei, Norinco, CETC, and many others. The report also details CATL's ownership stake in Wuhu Shipyard, a key builder of Chinese naval vessels and military equipment, as well as research partnership ties to the PLA's National University of Defense Technology and China's nuclear weapon complex. In a separate transaction, Morgan Stanley sponsored the IPO of Zijin Gold even after its parent company and Xinjiang subsidies were added to the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act entity list. Internal documents showed the firm identified significant sanctions and national security risks and moved forward regardless. In simple English, American financial institutions are implicated in a financial scheme that may well have raised money for the Chinese military and for the Chinese operations that use forced labor in their operation. Very interesting. Was that because the entire plan was to move everything to China? I mean, look what Europe was doing. Look what the U.S. was doing. Look what the banking system was doing. Remember, the banking system is tied to the central bank system. Were they planning to shift everything to China? Were they supporting everything in China? It's starting to seem that way. And Trump and team now are shutting all of this down. And you could see as Trump moves everything back to the United States, moves everything away from China, decentralizes the oil. What is he doing? He's ripping their system down, the system that they were preparing for. And every day that passes, it gets worse and worse for them. Look what's happening out in Poland. Trump, he put this out in Truth. He said, based on the successful election of the now president of Poland, Karol Nawrocki, who I was proud to endorse, and our relationship with him, I am pleased to announce that the United States will be sending an additional 5,000 troops to Poland. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So it seems that Trump is going to be sending the troops to Poland instead of maybe Germany. Maybe he's going to be removing the troops from these different areas that didn't want to assist us in the Strait of Hormuz. Maybe not. It's starting to look that way. And you can see the world is now being restructured. And this is what Trump is doing right now. He's shifting everything. And when you look at Cuba right now, you can see he's about to shift everything in Cuba. Secretary Marco Rubio put this out and said, Adis Morera is the sister of the executive president of GAESA, GAESA, the Cuban military-controlled financial conglomerate that steals millions in aid for the Cuban people at the behest of the regime. Morera was managing real estate assets and living in Florida, while also aiding Havana's communist regime, until I terminated her permanent resident status. I am pleased to announce that today she was arrested and is now in the custody of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. There will be nowhere on this earth, much less in our country, where foreign nationals who threaten our national security can live lavishly. Absolutely. And think about it. Why hasn't the other administrations go after these people? Because, again, they're all part of the criminal syndicate. Trump and team, they are not. They're going after the criminal syndicate. And Rubio even mentions that most likely the talks with Cuba are not going to go well. And we mentioned this before, that most likely something else is going to happen. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump and team goes in and removes certain leaders within Cuba, but we'll have to see how that all plays out in the end. Now, the other thing that we could see is that there's talk that there's going to be a deal made in Iran. Now, I do believe most likely there will be one, and Trump is putting out the same truth that he put out before. What happens if Iran surrenders? I do believe that it must be going pretty darn well if he's continually putting this out, or eventually, if they don't agree to this round of peace talks, I do believe once he goes in and he bombs and removes the rest of the leaders, I think there'll be no problem whatsoever. That what I'm saying is that the IRGC, the regime, will then surrender. But before we get to that, Rubio has now warned the entire world and said the following. Eric Doherty put this out. Iran is trying to set up a tolling system in international waterway. That's just not acceptable. It can't happen. If that were to happen in the Strait of Hormuz, it will happen in 5 other places around the world. Why would countries all over the world say, well, we want this too? Not to mention how vital and critical the strait is to every country represented here today. But frankly, the countries not represented here today, particularly the Indo-Pacific. And once again, Trump has been repeating this over and over and over, letting everyone know that there's There's no way the Strait of Hormuz is going to have a toll system. The Strait of Hormuz has to be open to all ships. There could be no fear. There could be no control. Just like if someone was sailing across the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean, it's the same exact thing. The people can sail freely. No one should control it. He has Russia on board saying this. He has China on board saying this. The United States is saying this. Other countries are saying this. And once again, everything the deep state players are trying to do, it is completely and utterly failing. And think about it. Just yesterday, we said that Obama, Hillary Clinton has been dictating to the Iran proxy army, listen, don't hand over the uranium. Once you do that, we're screwed big time. So keep pushing against it and say you're never, ever going to give it up. And once again, Trump has made it very, very clear that we're going to be getting the uranium. Clandestine put this out and is referring to two old posts from Trump back in 2017. Uranium deal to Russia with Clinton help and Obama administration knowledge is the biggest story that the fake media doesn't want to follow. The other post is, new Donna B. book says she paid for and stole the Dem primary. What about the deleted emails, uranium, Podesta, and the server, plus. Clandestine responded said, I am unapologetically excited about the potential mission to secure the uranium. Why? Because the nuclear footprint from the enriched uranium in Iran will incontrovertibly prove Obama and Clinton committed treason. Uranium 1. This is arguably the most important mission of all time. The world must be shown that Obama administration covertly supplied U.S. uranium to the radical Islamic terrorist regime that wants to destroy America and has been destabilizing the Middle East for decades. And Trump is out there saying, listen, no, they can't keep it. A reporter actually asked, can they keep their highly enriched uranium? Trump says, no, we will get it. We don't need it. We don't want it. We'll probably destroy it after we get it, but we're not going to let them have it. What didn't he say? He didn't say that, hey, we're getting it because the isotope can be traced back to America. And it's going to show that Obama, Hillary Clinton, and many others were responsible in selling this to Iran. Clandestine says Trump reminds everyone that we're going to be taking the enriched uranium no matter what. Based on the messaging from Trump today to peers, he is preparing to go in and take the uranium by force. Trump is going to secure the smoking gun on the Obama administration. Now, I do believe Trump, he'd rather do it the easy way where Iran just surrenders. The regime says, okay, we give. And I do believe this is why the Middle Eastern countries now are speaking with these people, letting them know, and we said this yesterday, that if they do not give, they will just be destroyed. It's that easy. They've been traced. They've been tracked. Trump knows exactly where they are, and everything will be destroyed in a moment's notice. Remember, when Trump said he was rebuilding the military, he was creating new weapons. He was creating a new military force that Obama didn't know about, that Biden didn't know about, that Hillary Clinton didn't know about, the deep state players didn't know about. And he would be using these weapons against the deep state players. And you could see he's been using certain weapons. And what's very interesting, he put this truth out once again, which means we might be very, very close to Iran surrendering one way or another. He says, if Iran surrenders, admits their navy is gone and resting at the bottom of the sea, and their air force is no longer with us, and if their entire military walks out of Tehran, weapons dropped and hands held high, each shouting, I surrender, while widely waving the representative white flag, and if their entire remaining leadership signs all necessary documents of surrender and admit their defeat to the great power and force of the magnificent USA, the failing New York Times, the China Street Journal, Wall Street Journal, corrupt and now irrelevant CNN and all other members of the fake news media will headline that Iran has a masterful and brilliant victory over the United States of America. It wasn't even close. The Democrats and media have totally lost their way. They have gone absolutely crazy, President DJT. Now, he reposted this twice, which tells me that we're most likely very, very close in Iran surrendering. And like I said before, it's either they do it the easy way or they do it the hard way. But in the end, the result will be the same. They will surrender, and Trump will get the uranium. And think about what Trump is doing. He's collecting all the evidence against the deep state players, because once he gets the uranium, and it shows they sold uranium from the U.S. to Iran, or maybe through Canada to Russia, and this is treason. And that's what people are going to see, because it's going to show that Hillary, Obama, gave the uranium to Iran, which was allowing them to create a nuclear weapon. This is what people are going to see. It's treason at the highest level. Unbelievable. Because you have to remember, Trump, he's going to be taking them all down. Not just a couple of them. He's not just arresting a couple of them. He's taking down the entire system. He's burning it to the ground. And you have to remember, the system is made up of many, many different parts. And there are many different players, not just domestic, but foreign. Take, for example, the British billionaire named Chris Hahn has been secretly funneling hundreds of millions of dollars into radicalizing America. Wall Street Apes put this out and said, report shows the goal of his NGO is, quote, nothing less than the complete radicalization of the U.S. political landscape. He is also funding our protests. In 10 years, CIFF funneled over $500 million into U.S. organizations to bankroll litigation and protests in our country. So he's paying for protests and paying for the lawsuits. They also reportedly gave money to China-connected groups, the Rocky Mountain Institute, which is seeking to ban gas stoves in America. Foreign nations are barred by federal law from directly or indirectly influencing U.S. elections, and these guys are funding litigation, protests, and changes to our laws in cooperation with China. I find it's actually so much worse. Christopher Hahn, the British billionaire hedge fund manager, founder, and board chair of the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, funneled over $553 million to U.S.-based organizations. Much of this supported climate litigation and activism against fossil fuels, protests, left-leaning policy advocacy, including through networks like Arabella Advisors, pass-through funders for many progressive causes, meaning he's working with George Soros groups, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives, and social justice programs. Everything happening on the left is being foreign funded to bring down America. And it's been like this for quite a while because, again, the deep state players, not just in this country, but around the world, they're trying to end America. They're trying to remove the Constitution because with America standing tall with the Constitution, they can't put their plan in motion. See, America is stopping all of this. And this is why they're always coming after America. The other countries are easy. They don't have a constitution. People don't have rights. So it's very easy to change the laws. It's very easy to take the weapons away. It's very easy to censor them. It's very easy to do all these things. And you can see it's happening out in Australia, New Zealand, UK, Germany, France. It's very easy to do. Here in America, it's much more difficult because, again, we have a constitution. The people here are born with rights. The government has to abide by the people's contract, which is the Constitution. And this is what they've been trying to shut down for a very long time. And what do? They buy people off. Yes, they find people that will take the money. They find people that they can use blackmail on. And then they turn the people against we the people that you think that are on our side. Take, for example, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's out there. She was being interviewed by Alex Jones, and they're trying to convince everyone that Trump may use Iran as an excuse to cancel the presidential election, which is absolutely ridiculous. So basically, Iran is going to go on as long as, 2.5 more years? Does that seem right? Absolutely not. Again, you could see that they're pushing all this because, once again, this is what they're told to push. The Iran war is going to end very, very soon. And Trump is going to say, look, we're victorious. The leadership has changed. The Strait of Hormuz is open. Energy is decentralized. The world now is changing. And now we can have competition where the price of oil is set not just by one centralized location, but again, the countries now can compete and the prices can now drop. And that is what we're going to see. But you can see the deep state players, they've been brainwashing the young generation into thinking that violence is the answer. We saw it back in 2020, and we're seeing it today. As soon as the warm weather came, cities all across the country, big cities, all of a sudden you see teens taking over the cities, and they're lighting them on fire. They're acting crazy. Again, what they're doing right now is they're preparing for the major riots. Remember, they're going to be very, very violent on the streets. Antifa is going to kick it off. They want the teens to come out onto the streets. They want the illegals to come out in the streets. And all they have to do is kick it off. And that's exactly what they're doing. Now, the other thing that we could see, since we're talking about violence, there's an individual who has Trump flags all over his house. And he has it in the front of his house, everywhere. And he's a 69-year-old Army veteran named Kerry Sharon from California. And it seems that people didn't like that he was putting up American flags, Trump flags, and other things. And he was beaten almost to death. Actually, he's in pretty darn bad shape. And this is a very sad thing. Prayers go out to him and his family. And when you look at the picture of what they've done to him, it's horrific. Just because someone decided, I'm going to put the American flag up, I'm going to be a Trump supporter, I'm MAGA. These people are so violent and so vile that they would go and beat a 69-year-old Army veteran. Disgusting. And this is what you can expect across the country, because this is what the deep state players are training these people to do. And this is why the Trump administration has now released the 2026 U.S. Counterterrorism Strategy, or let's just call it the Counterinsurgency Strategy. So the 2026 United States Counterterrorism Strategy identifies three primary terrorism threat categories: narco-terrorists, transnational gangs, legacy Islamist organizations, and violent left-wing extremists, including anarchists and Antifa. The Biden administration had previously identified white supremacists and anti-government extremists as the primary domestic terrorism threat. Trump just switched it around. President Trump signed the 2026 United States Counterterrorism Strategy on May 6, setting out the clearest statement yet of his administration's national security priorities. The 16-page document frames counterterrorism as a core mission centered on protecting Americans from both foreign and domestic threats, and represents a structural reorganization of how the U.S. government identifies, prioritizes, and neutralizes terrorist threats. Our new U.S. counterterrorism strategy is a return to common sense and peace through strength. So the third priority, which is the violent left-wing extremists as a counterterrorism category, the strategy directs the government to map their membership, sever international ties, and cripple them operationally before they can carry out attacks. As evidence of the threat, the document cites the assassination of Charlie Kirk by a radical whom the strategy describes as espousing extreme transgender ideology. So Trump is setting up the counterinsurgency, putting everything in place to basically counter everything that they're going to try to do. And yes, it's going to be the trans community, because again, this trans-tifa. Yes, it's going to be Antifa. Yes, it's going to be the illegals. Yes, it's going to be the brainwashed people. These are the domestic terrorists within our country. And yes, we also have the foreign terrorists, which is the Islamists and many others. And again, you could see Trump now is preparing for what is to come. And I do believe this is why the White House ballroom is going to be fortified, because Trump knows that he's going to be using this as a base of operation. Because what is Trump going to do? He's going to bring down their entire system. He's already doing it, and he's going to go after all of these people one by one. And think about what James Comey is trying to do. Remember, he was indicted. Paul Sperry put this out and said, according to new court records, ex-FBI Director James Comey has filed a motion to postpone his trial from July 15 to a date to be set in October 2026, citing the need for extra time to prepare. Multiple motions on constitutional grounds seeking dismissal of the indictment. Now, again, depending on the judge, depending on lawfare, how is this going to go? And it's very interesting that he decided to set the date all the way in October, which means he's going to try to delay it even further than that, which means something might happen during this period of time, or he's hoping that the Republicans will lose the midterm, their people will get control of the House and Senate, and they'll try to impeach Trump. I do believe this is what they're counting on. But again, this is not going to work because they do not have the upper hand. And you can see that with everything that Trump is doing, he's making sure the deep state players cannot and will not cheat in the election. And in the end, they're not going to be able to get around this, because I do believe the Supreme Court is going to rule that there's an election day. I do believe the Save America Act is going to be passed. And even if it isn't passed, Trump is going to write an executive order. If it is passed, Trump will write the executive order to back up the Save America Act. So no matter which way you look at this, Trump is going to protect the elections. And think about it. Lisa Monaco, one of the masterminds of pretty much everything, is now being investigated by the DOJ. Libs of TikTok put this out and said, Lisa Monaco, the former U.S. Deputy Attorney General under Biden, has been referred to the DOJ for allegedly covering up investigations into Microsoft's cybersecurity breaches. You will never guess who she went to work for after the Biden admin. Microsoft. Can't even make this stuff up. It's absolutely unbelievable. Svetlana Lokova says, Special Counsel Durham planned to indict Mark Elias for his participation in the anti-Trump conspiracy. Someone, Lisa Monaco, Maggie Goodlander, stop the prosecutions. AG Blanche ought to immediately indict Elias. There is more than enough evidence. Open an investigation into obstruction of justice by the Obama-Hillary crew. Absolutely. And once again, you could see that all of this is going to be done. Slowly but surely, you can see they're building cases. And I do believe there's a lot of grand juries that have been impaneled against all of these people. And like I said before, I do believe when the timing is right, we're going to see indictment after indictment after indictment. Now, we do have some sad news. Tulsi Gabbard, she is now going to be stepping down as ODNI 2.0. And basically, her husband, he has bone cancer, and she wants to be by his side. And our prayers go out to her husband and her. But she has done an incredible job, and she let everyone know that her last day is June 30th. Trump responded to this and said the following. Unfortunately, after having done a great job, Tulsi Gabbard will be leaving the administration on June 30th. Her wonderful husband, Abraham, has been recently diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer, and she rightfully wants to be with him, bringing him back to good health as they currently fight a tough battle together. I have no doubt he will soon be better than ever. Tulsi has done an incredible job, and we will miss her. Her highly respected Principal Deputy Director of National Intelligence, Aaron Lucas, will serve as Acting Director of National Intelligence, President DJT. Now, Aaron Lucas, again, he was nominated by President Trump, and they confirmed him. And what's very interesting about all of this is now we have temps in all these different positions, and it seems that Trump now is gearing up to go after the deep state players. He has a temp in the DOJ. He has a temp now in the ODNI. And I do believe as we move forward, they're going to try to attack these different agencies, but in the end, they will not succeed. Because again, those temps, they're not, protecting their confirmation. They're not protecting the position because they're temps. So you can play this very, very differently. And I do believe Trump now is preparing for all of this. And remember, he brought in all these people to do what? To set everything up, to clean the agencies out and prepare for what is coming. Now he has temps carrying out everything that Bondi did, everything that Gabbard did. And I do believe in the end, we're going to see incredible results. But again, we have to win the midterm. And I do believe this is why Trump decided to settle with the IRS and get the anti-weaponization fund. This is what he put out on Truth. I gave up a lot of money in allowing the just announced anti-weaponization fund to go forward. I could have settled my case, including the illegal release of my tax returns and the equally illegal break-in at Mar-a-Lago for an absolute fortune. Instead, I am helping others who were so badly abused by an evil, corrupt, and weaponized Biden administration receive at long last justice. President DJT. Absolutely. And Trump now is basically pointing the fingers at the rhinos, those individuals that have turned against him. They've turned against him in the past. They pretended they were on his side. And then again, they turn on him once again. And I do believe if you notice, all these people that have been primaried, they're going to be going against Trump. And once again, I think Trump knew this. He knew as we got closer and closer to the midterms, and his people are put into place. Those people that are still left are going to try to do whatever they possibly can to do harm to the movement. And I think this is why he's not pushing to get his nominees, pushing to get the Save America Act, because again, He wanted to see the reaction from all these people and how it all plays out. Plus, why would you want to give the deep state players any type of ammunition? If you're really going to attack the deep state players in full force, you wait until you have the leverage. You wait to have the people in there so you can have all your nominees confirmed all at once. Confirming them now is not going to benefit him in any way. Having them confirmed once we have the House and Senate and we can remove the judiciary and remove a lot of federal judges across the country, yes, this is going to change everything. And in regards to the elections, you never give your enemy a chance to react. So why not wait to the last moment to push the Save America Act and then back it up with the executive order? I do believe that's the strategy here, but we'll have to see how it all plays out. But he did go after Tillis. He says people don't remember that Tom Tillis, the weak and ineffective senator from the great state of North Carolina, a state I won, including primaries 6 consecutive times, didn't have the courage to fight it out in the Senate, remain in place, and run again for office. A thing he desperately wanted to do. I called him a nitpicker, always fighting against the Republican Party and me, mostly on things that didn't matter, when I told him that I would not under any circumstances endorse him for another run. Too much work and drama. He couldn't have won anyway. He immediately quit the race and publicly announced that he was going to retire. I said, wow, great news. That was easy. The media said how brave he was to take me on. But he wasn't brave. He was just the opposite. He was a quitter. And now he can have all the fun he wants for a few months, with some of his rhino friends screwing the Republican Party. In the end, it will only get bigger and better and stronger than ever before. Absolutely. And that just proves the point right there. And what's very interesting is Leader Thune, and Amuse put this out, sent the Senate home for a 12-day paid vacation, but he's having one senator stay behind and gavel in every 3 days to block Trump from making recess appointments. Remember, this is not business as usual. This is not running the government as usual. We're fighting a war against the deep state players. Trump is fighting to win. Why would he want his people confirmed right now? It makes no sense. You confirm them when you have the leverage of the House and Senate to back everything up that you want to do. Right now, we're in the process of the primaries. Trump now is showing everyone these are the people that I want. Those people that are left over are going to fight back with everything that they have. And they'll continue to do this every step of the way. He knows this. He just said it. So why not hold off? Because again, if we don't get the House and Senate, what are they going to do to Trump? He told you. They're going to impeach him. They're going to remove the filibuster. They're going to do all these things. You think we're going to do these things before the midterms? I do believe so. I do believe that Trump is waiting for the right moment to do what? To remove the filibuster and pass the Save America Act. And this will put the deep state players in a very difficult position. Again, game theory. Now, the other thing that we could see, and this proves the point that most of the people in Congress today, they have been installed. They don't represent the people. They are taking orders from a different master. This is why they're all against the people and what the people want. Because Peter Sayong says a major study finds voters have statistically zero influence on Congress. In case you're curious why the 80% issues don't pass, from crime to open borders to secure elections. Again, this proves the point. They are there. Why? Because they're criminals. The criminals were installed. The criminals are running the show. The criminals are taking orders from a different master. They represent their master, not the people. It's that simple. And it's not just in D.C. It's in local government. This is when you see all these things, when you see everyone turning against the people, when you see all these things happen, that's the reason. They developed their system. They're protecting their system. That's what you're witnessing every single day. And think about this. The system keeps telling us there's no fraud anywhere. No fraud. C3 says, so there's welfare fraud, but no voter fraud. There's daycare fraud, but no voter fraud. There's hospice fraud, but no voter fraud. There's Medicaid fraud, but no voter fraud. Everywhere we look, there's major fraud, but no voter fraud. Voter fraud is the key to all the frauds. Absolutely. Because that's how they install the people. And it looks like we're getting very good news, and Gunther Engelman put this out. The Supreme Court has now signaled It will strike down all state laws allowing ballots to be counted after Election Day. No more shady midnight drops. No more find more ballots nonsense. No more weeks of extending counting that destroys trust. Elections must end on Election Day, period. The end. That's it. That's how it's always been. That's what the Constitution says. Now think about it. Trump has all of this in place. When the Supreme Court rules on this, you can only have one day to do things, which means they can't count up the votes. How many do we need? This goes down the tube. So take that. I do believe, hopefully, birthright citizenship comes into play. Also, take into account the Save America Act. Take into account the executive order. This time around, the deep state players, the Ds, their election results are going to be shocking to America. I think Trump is going to prove to the world the Ds are not getting votes at all. The only place they're getting them is through the illegals and cheating. And I think this is why yesterday he put out that graph of Trump winning against Kamala. He got 99%. Kamala got 1%. I think we're going to see something that has never been seen before, because for a very long time, the Ds have been fooling us, just like with everything else. Remember, the fake news never investigated fraud. It never existed. But then you had Nick Shirley go in and found it in no time at all. The system protects itself. Nick Shirley was an outsider. Nick Shirley uncovered it all. And this is just the beginning. Remember, Trump is the hunter. He's hunting these people. And what's very interesting is that the White House put out a picture. It says, "This is the way. Make America great again." And there's a little symbol there. And the symbol is the same symbol for Boba Fett. DC Lidstone says it's Boba Fett's symbol. That's interesting. So the hunters become the hunted. Trump is hunting them all down, slowly but surely. They're feeling pain every step of the way. And he's not going to let up until justice is served. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.